Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. I've talked about universal basic income on our channel before, and I've talked about Andrew Yang, who's the New York City mayoral candidate who originally pushed universal basic income. In fact, he was the one who brought the whole concept of universal basic income into the spotlight. In some new reporting that you're about to see from CNBC, the New York City mayoral candidate, Andrew Yang, has an idea on how universal basic income can be paid for. Welcome to this episode of Ignition Time, everyone. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. Right here is some information about me. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. Let's just jump right in. Here's new reporting from CNBC. You can see the headline on your screen. NYC mayoral candidate Andrew Yang wants Madison Square Garden and tax-exempt landlords to pay for his universal basic income plan. So the proposed universal basic income plan from Andrew Yang, the proposed plan is as follows. $2,000 a month will be paid to residents of New York City who are living in extreme poverty. Now, Andrew Yang was speaking with CNBC's Shepard Smith, and he said he would target property tax exempt landlords in New York City like Madison Square Garden so that they cover a portion of this bill. Here's a quote from Andrew Yang. He said this: "It makes us stronger, healthier, more secure, mentally healthier, improves our relationships." He was talking about the concept of universal basic income, guaranteed income. He said 55% of Americans are now for cash relief in perpetuity and 85% are for cash relief during this pandemic. He also said, when he was speaking with Shepard Smith, that he would target property tax exempt landlords in New York City like Madison Square Garden to foot a portion of the bill. He said Madison Square Garden's tax breaks are $40 million a year alone. If you look at that money and you get it back into the city's hands, plus you invest some of that money into the city's resources, in other words, you contribute to the city's resources, we can alleviate extreme poverty here in New York City. So folks, I want to hear from you. Are you in favor of universal basic income or not? Now, there are supporters and detractors of universal basic income. Supporters of universal basic income say that this can help individuals get back on their feet. This provides a financial foundation. This allows individuals to achieve their full potential. This allows individuals to escape the cycle of poverty that you see on your screen right now. And this allows, as Yang said, individuals to be happier, healthier, and more productive. The cycle of poverty, once again on your screen, is something that people work hard to get out of for decades, in some cases generations. So universal basic income can help those who are in extreme poverty. It's definitely not intended for every individual. If someone has a well-paying job, if someone's making upwards of, let's say, $60,000, $70,000 a year, they are not going to qualify for universal basic income. But the big question is, where is the money for universal basic income going to come from? And that is the open question. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. In the meantime, I think we should hear from Andrew Yang about his thoughts on universal basic income in this rather interesting interview with Shepard Smith. Folks, it looks like the support for universal basic income is there, as Yang pointed out. But the big question is, how are we going to pay for this? Are we going to raise taxes on the rich? Are we going to target property tax exempt landlords because they have tax exemptions for whatever reason, whatever method that they use to not pay taxes, whatever loophole that exists in the United States tax law? The big question is, how are we going to pay for this? Let's take a look at Andrew Yang as he presents his case for making property tax exempt landlords pay their fair share of taxes so that can be used to fund universal basic income for those living in extreme poverty. Let's roll the tape and hear from Andrew Yang.
Andrew Yang is with us now, candidate for New York City mayor these days, former presidential candidate, of course. Andrew, great to see you. You ran on this. It's happening here and there. Between experiments like the one in upstate New York and others, plus stimulus checks, local and federal governments are spending billions of dollars and sending them directly to Americans. Is this a good test of your campaign platform, and do you think it'll catch on?
Of course it'll catch on, Shepard, because we're living it. Right now, tens of millions of American families have seen their incomes either reduced or in some cases completely taken away by the pandemic. And now tens of millions of us are getting these $1,400 stimulus checks that are helping provide a lifeline for millions of families. It makes us stronger, healthier, more secure, mentally healthier, improves our relationships. 55% of Americans are now for cash relief in perpetuity, and 85% are for cash relief during this pandemic.
As a candidate for mayor in the big city, you've proposed what amounts to $1 billion a year plan to give that money directly to the city's poor. New York City is in a world of hurt financially, and you haven't shared specifics on where you'd get the money. Why not? Don't voters have a right to know?
Of course. And we've been very clear about where we're going to get the money, Shepard. You have landlords like Madison Square Garden who've been enjoying massive tax breaks. MSG's tax breaks, $40 million a year alone. If you look at that money and you get it back into the city's hands, plus you invest some level of the city's resources, we can alleviate extreme poverty here in New York City. And the way the city works is that if you keep someone in a more stable situation, they'll actually end up saving public resources, because when someone hits our streets or our shelters, it's very expensive, both on a human level and an economic level.
MSG is not going to foot the whole bill for that. I mean, the voters deserve a few more specifics than that, don't you think?
Sure. So if you look at the property tax exempt landlords in New York City, and if they were paying in what they should be for police services, fire services, MSG is just an example. But if MSG is $40 million a year alone, this easily gets into the hundreds of millions of dollars. And New Yorkers know that a lot of these institutions have been essentially getting a free ride on city services for years.
You know, I worked in a place once where they'd call this free stuff and say handouts don't work. I think a lot of people who believe in conservative economic policy would say this is the worst thing you can do. There are some of those in New York City. How do you convince them?
Well, again, a majority of Americans now know that this is the path we should be on, because when this money comes into our hands, where does it go, Shepard? It goes to locally owned small businesses. It goes to car repairs. It goes to sometimes getting a better job or even starting a business. This is capitalism where income doesn't start at zero, which is going to function at a much higher level than if you have millions of Americans who don't have money to spend, can't be consumers, and even can't make ends meet.
There you have it, everyone. Capitalism that does not start at zero as far as Andrew Yang is concerned. And in a very interesting set of comments, he said that providing this universal basic income would actually make more sense financially, because then the state would not have to deal with homelessness, would not have to deal with crime, and would not have to deal with healthcare costs, all of those things that are associated with helping those who are poor, those who are vulnerable, those who sleep on the streets, those who live in the cycle of poverty that you see on your screen right now. Let me know whether you agree or disagree with this entire proposal from Andrew Yang, and whether you think this entire pandemic has opened up a new discussion as to whether universal basic income and guaranteed income for the poorest amongst us, for the most vulnerable amongst us, is a good idea or a bad idea. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please do me a favor. Please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications, because it really helps out the channel. That is your way of supporting us and all the effort that goes into the scenes every single day at Ignition Time. That's all I ask of you. Please take a minute of your time to do that. I also urge you to follow me on Twitter. Here's my Twitter feed on your screen. I post almost daily on Twitter. You'll be able to keep up with all the new news stories in real time with me on Twitter. You'll be able to keep up with all the breaking news alerts. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.